Thank you. Assembly Member Garratt.
Thank you very much. Perhaps I should declare an interest. So I set off to come here this morning on my bike, and my wife and my 11-year-old son also left the house this morning to go to work and school on their bikes. And it's my sincere hope that we all get home safely again this evening. So I think my commitment to this is quite high. I've got a couple of areas I'd like to ask questions about, if I may. Firstly is about the baseline, which I have real problems with. And I accept the explanation that you gave earlier, Lilli, about aligning with national data collection periods. But I think a normal person looking at the baseline that you've used, I think it's so odd as to look dishonest. That's the way that it seems to me. Because I'm looking here at a graph showing the KSI stats for the baseline period, and then all of the improvements in safety that happened since then, effectively during the decade before Vision Zero started. And then you sit here this morning and you quote a lot of statistics about achievements of Vision Zero. And am I right in saying that the lion's share, possibly even nearly all of those improvements, except possibly in the very last year, with the COVID year, were achieved before Vision Zero even started and before the current mayor was in office?
Great question, but I think well, let me just roll back even further. What we have fortunately seen as a city, and I mentioned it in my introduction, is a steady decline in the number of people being injured. And that has continued, exactly as you indicated, for many, many years. And to be really clear on that, a lot of those improvements aren't anything to do with TfL. They happened before TfL happened, or to do with the boroughs. They're to do with vehicle safety improvements. And that has had a major, major impact in terms of making vehicles safer. But when we track safety improvements more recently, we can indeed see year-on-year improvements. So the reduction between 2019 and 2020, I think, was 20%. There's a further year-on-year reduction this year. So we're really happy to provide, and we do indeed provide all data very openly, and you can track it by those. But what I just wanted to sort of say is, you are right that there were reductions from 2005 to 2009 up to the period 2018, because a lot of really good work was going on. But where we have seen a real acceleration of impact is in areas such as the bus safety, and that does reflect the work that has been really focused in that area. Go on.
I mean, I have some questions about bus safety, which I think we'll come on to in a later section. But I think the picture that you just gave earlier, though, you quoted a lot of safety improvements, and I think I'm right in saying you didn't quite answer my question. All or nearly all or a significant percentage of that safety improvement that you're claiming credit for at the beginning of this meeting happened not just before Vision Zero, but before this mayor even took office. Is that correct?
So I'm speaking on behalf of Transport for London. Transport for London has been
Sorry, you were claiming that as part of Vision Zero, though. So when did Vision Zero start? Was that 2018?
So the Vision Zero Action Plan was published in 2018. It builds on the Road Safety Action Plan, which we published, I think, in 2012 or 2014. There were always safety schemes being delivered in London during that period. There were also efforts to control speed. But what's really different about the Vision Zero Action Plan is the statement that no death is acceptable and the real focus on reducing risk. And what that has allowed us to drive forward at a much more accelerated rate is efforts such as protected cycling schemes.
Sorry, I apologise for keeping interrupting. It's not that I want to talk about the specific schemes. I think we'll probably have a lot of time today to talk about that. What I want to talk about is the baseline. And I heard what you said earlier about the national periods of safety monitoring. But if we're claiming impact of Vision Zero, why are we taking a baseline that starts 10 years before Vision Zero? Why not take a baseline that starts either during the period around when it started, let's say 2016, 17, 18, or maybe a 5-year period leading up to 2018? Wouldn't that be a more honest baseline of where things were when Vision Zero started, so that you can then compare this is the impact of what's happening under Vision Zero.
So I can accept your challenge, but the point is, as a technical officer, we've been tracking targets within London since we were set up, and indeed the London Road Safety Unit existed before TfL existed. So there is a continuation of targets and tracking, and it wouldn't have been appropriate to sort of break that continuation. So we had a previous target which followed the previous government's baseline, which was 1994 to 98. When that one was concluded, we moved to the new baseline. And it feels to me that this shouldn't be a politicized issue. It's too important for that, and that we're tracking the progress. I'll come to the fact you want to know the progresses, but in terms of the technical tracking of the collisions of people being killed or seriously injured, we feel it's very important in terms of having a clear public trajectory that shows how we move from one baseline to the other. In terms of being able to demonstrate, has the Vision Zero action plan been successful, I think I think it's quite clear if you look at the refresh report. It tracks what actions have been completed and what haven't. And it also looks at specific impacts of schemes, such as quoting the evidence, not just from TfL, but others, in terms of the impacts of low traffic neighbourhoods. And we can always, if you would like, provide more bespoke analysis period by period, which will show you exactly what the progress has been from any one period in time, because we, as a city, are incredibly lucky to have very detailed and rich collision data, which we take very seriously. But just to be really clear and on the record, there's absolutely no dishonesty in this. We track this because this is completely aligned with the government's approach to monitoring road safety.
Okay, sorry, Will, you were indicating you wanted to...
I was just going to come in and say that there has been progress during this mayoralty. You know, if you take 2015, there were 136 people who were killed on the roads. And I don't want to make this political, because actually good progress was made under the previous mayor with the introduction of the cycle lanes and the changes. But 136 in 2016, there were, I think, 116 people, 112 in 2018, 119, 125, 120, 96. What's interesting is the spread of those causes of those collisions. So, you know, in 2015, 66 pedestrians were killed. People walking were sadly killed. In 2020, that was 45. You know, it's gone down on every scheme there. Now, as I said before, one, this is not political. There's been a heartfelt cross-party agreement that we shouldn't have people being killed on our roads previous to this mayor, but progress has been made in this mayor. I think the Vision Zero sort of umbrella and the safer systems approach is a new way of modernising the good work that's been going and has brought that along. But it's wrong to say that there has not been progress made under this administration, because the evidence shows that there has been, but we do have an awful long way to go.
Okay, I feel perhaps we've explored that as much as we can. Thank you for your answers. I had a quick